Welcome back to Houston Life. It's time for a back-to-school mental health check. Sounds good to me. So much in life comes down to good communication. It can make all the difference in our relationships, of course. And today we are taking a look at the best ways you can communicate with your children to set them up for success.
So important. Mel Camp caught up with UTMB professor Dr. Jeff Temple. He's a psychologist. He's also the vice dean of research for UTMB's School of Nursing. So he knows all about communicating well and has some really great advice for parents.
The kids are back at school, but are they doing all right? Now that they are past those first day jitters and settling into some kind of rhythm, how can you best identify if your children are struggling with more than the regular ups and downs of being a teen? And how do you navigate an effective way to help? If you have questions, UTMB's Dr. Jeff Temple has the answers.
It's always been tough to be a kid. There's what we call the storm and stress of adolescence, and that's very true. It's scary and hard, and you have all these developmental changes and bodily changes and changes in friends and relationships, and it's crazy. And then top it all off with kids these days with social media and having to be on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then all the stressful stuff that we have in politics and climate and school shootings, and it really is tough. I'm glad I grew up in the 90s.
So what can parents do to help support their kids? I mean, how do we know if our kids are going through something that's just normal, tough adolescence, or even something deeper than that?
How do you know, typical teenage angst, which is mood swings and angry and no longer interested in stuff? Those are all symptoms of depression and anxiety. So how do we tell the difference? Well, it's a matter of duration, like how long it lasts, the severity, how severe it is, and then does it impact their life? Are they completely checking out? Are they sleeping way more than usual? Are they, doing things that they didn't do before? Those are all sort of things that would be a red flag for me.
Obviously comes down to communication, being able to talk to your kids to really get to the depth of what they're going through. But it's not always easy. I mean, it's that typical thing, your kids get home from school, how's your day? Great, what did you do? Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, what questions can we ask our kids that get a better answer than that?
I've made that mistake often with my kids, is how was your day? And you get no answer. So, it's about, it starts with being, again, a good model and being open, and so that they can see how you answer that question when your spouse asks how your day was. But it also, when you get home from a long, busy day, you don't want to talk about it right away. You want to decompress, and oftentimes kids are like that as well. But when it gets to the question, you're right. Those how was your day? That's fine. I think it's better to ask open-ended questions and be creative. Say, if we traded places, what advice would you have given me to get through this day? Or tell me the funniest thing that happened to you today, or tell me the most difficult thing that happened to you today. Tell me what you had for lunch. Who'd you sit with? Just getting that conversation started. And kids want to be heard. They'd like to be heard, which is another thing. When we talk about them, let's put our phone down. Let's really be present, even if it's only for a few minutes, because oftentimes they'll say more with their nonverbals than they will, out loud.
Now, I don't even want to say this word, the C word, COVID, but how much has it changed school? I mean, I think it's something we probably should talk about because it really has impacted kids.
It has, and especially in the height of the pandemic and the school disruptions that we had, that generation will probably feel the impact of that for a long time, if not forever. And kids, again, are resilient. They do well when we throw lemons at them. They tend to make lemonade, but we are throwing so many lemons at them, there's not enough time to do anything with it. And so again, we talked about the storm and stress. We talked about all the typical stressors that kids have, and now the abnormal stressors that this generation has, including social media. Now on top of that, we're throwing in a world stopping pandemic, where their whole school disruption, and they no longer got to develop that autonomy and make mistakes and do all the stuff that kids are supposed to do for a few years, and that's going to have an effect. And I think, the last wave of COVID is going to be a mental health wave. And I think we have to be there for our kids, for this generation. And we have to be there, not only emotionally, but with support and resources and anything else. I think COVID put the spotlight on the fact that mental health is hugely important, and that we need to be, if we want to be healthy and be quality people and workers and anything else, we need to be happy. And I think that the stigma has been lifted quite a bit, and we have COVID to thank for that, as crazy as that sounds, but we need to be happy and healthy.
And if you could say one thing to parents as they send their kids off to this new year of school, what would it be?
I would say, we talk a lot about the kids are all right, and I think my best thing to say to parents is you're doing a good job. That you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be times where you yell when you shouldn't have, or you're going to be on your phone when they want to be paid attention to. That's okay. We're normal, we're human, we're going to make mistakes, but if you love your kid, if you're there for them, if you model good relationships, you're doing a really good job.
Communication so important, and it's not just about raising your kids; it's about talking to them too, right? Because you give them their clothes, their food, their shelter, but you got to talk to them too. That's important.
Starting the conversation, very important. If you would like more information, you can visit UTMB.edu, and to take a deeper look at Dr. Temple's work at UTMB, you can visit UTMB.edu/CVP.
Awesome.